We're 1 week away from what you worked so hard for.
It's NAIA Football with Dannelly and Donley.
And don't you let a moment go without thinking about what's there for you to reach out and grasp.
Welcome in to NAIA Football with Dannelly and Donley. I am your host, Jason Dannelly. Appreciate you checking things out tonight. We've got a very special guest with us here tonight, so we'll jump right into things. That guest is not this guy. That's Pat Donley, the co-host of the show. Pat, great to see you and talk to you again.
Not a special guest at all.
No, but the special guest that we have with us is the Victory Sports Network NAIA Football Coach of the Year, Drew Maddox from Louisiana Christian. I almost got through that without totally butchering it. Coach Maddox, great to meet you in person and on the internet here, I guess. Appreciate you coming on with us.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. I appreciate y'all giving me the opportunity.
Well, Coach, fantastic season this last year. You were able to get your program into the NAIA postseason. You were able to go to Baker and play a very competitive game up there against a solid program. Just a great year. Give us your kind of sentiments of making it into the postseason now as this program has continued to grow at the NAIA level.
Yeah, so it was a big deal for us. They started the program back in 2000 here. LC played football a long time ago, I think 1969, and then brought it back in 2000. We were a D3 team for 21 years or 20 years, I guess. And anyways, they had only won one player, or had only been to one playoff game in the NCAA. And so, it's kind of fast to get, we've only been in the NAIA for 3 years. And so it was a fast transition, and it was a good deal. We talked about it. It's one of those deals we actually hated the playoff game. It felt like we played our worst there towards the end and did some stuff late in that game, as everybody could kind of see. It was a pretty close deal going on until the fourth quarter. We kind of made some stuff we hadn't done. I think we pressed a little. Thank you. Do you guys hear me still?
Yep, we got you now.
I got you. So I think we pressed a little bit and things like that, but it was a great experience, great learning experience for me as a coach, and figuring out how to do that short week on a travel deal was something that I needed. So
yeah, and that's something Pat has had some experience with, and you talked about, Pat, going into the postseason, those short weeks, that quick turnaround.
Oh, there's so many challenges, Coach. I'm sure you got a pretty good lesson, something to learn from. I was going to actually bring that up. Talk about your playoff experience this year, maybe with your staff and obviously your players as well, that you can build for the future.
Yeah. So the biggest deal is just we got players coming back, so there's a chance to make another run at it. I think we lost 5 or 6 on defense, but we only lost 3 on offense. So we'll net return 14, I think, from last year, and they're all staying. They hadn't had anybody transfer out on me or anything like that. So, anyways, we feel like we can maybe get back. So we'll just have to see. But from an experience of traveling up there, and for us as coaches, and for me especially, I do my own DFO stuff here. I don't have a DFO. I do my own. Not a huge staff here at LCU, so a lot of that stuff I was running around doing up until Tuesday morning. And so I think next time I'll figure something else out. I think I'll be in the meeting rooms and making sure people are doing right and all that good stuff on the next go around.
It is a bear to try to go through and have such a young program that hasn't had the experience in the postseason. Now you've got a little bit. I kind of want to back up a little bit. To you, Coach Maddox. You're an alum of the program. You got coaching experience. You've come back now. You're coaching at the alma mater. What's that been like for you as somebody that was a participant, a player, when the program was D3, to make the transition now into the NAIA and a different sort of mentality, scholarshiping, different conference, all those sort of things. What's that been like for you to see in that transition?
It's been great. I mean, it was a dream come true to come back to my alma mater and flip them. At the end of the day, that's the winningest season our school's ever had in 70 years of playing football. Even if you go back to the olden days, and so I always felt like that was there, and it was a capable program. Even if we were D3, we probably could have got it done. Just to be honest with you, I think the scholarships helped us out because we're the only small school in Louisiana with the scholarships. Everybody else here is FCS or Division I, and so that's helped us out a lot. And so it's been good. It really has, and to be able to help some of the players that we have on our team with some scholarships and stuff like that we do, because everybody knows everyone comes to Louisiana to recruit. I mean, everybody, all the big guys do, all the small guys do. A lot of the Arkansas D2s that are really good, look at their roster. It's littered with Harding and all those guys. It's littered with Louisiana guys. And so it's been good for us to be able to get into that conversation of we can be affordable and with the scholarship packaging and all that, and everybody knows Louisiana has a good football player. So I don't think we're so good. I think I'm kind of sitting in a landmine of a bunch of talented players, and we got them to play together. And the next thing you know, we're pretty good.
Coach, that was kind of lead me in my next question. You actually hit the one point with, it's such a unique thing, small school with scholarships in one of the greatest hotbeds of high school football in the country. Talk about, I've looked at your roster, Coach, and you have is it less than 10 guys from outside of Louisiana? I mean, you're 90% Louisiana guys, which makes a ton of sense. It's a great base for high school football. But talk about that. I mean, your guys are from the area that that you've been able to get some scholarship to and keep them at home. Talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, it's been good. Like you said, it's a hotbed. We go into Houston. Houston's only 4 hours away from here, so you look close on our roster, there'll be about 3 or 4 guys from Houston that start for us. We go into Mobile, Alabama, because a lot of the big guys in Mobile go, a lot of the big players, but then there's a bunch of good high school players in Mobile, and that's not far from us. It's only 5 hours. And so that's really about as far as we got to go. Everything else will be in Louisiana. And, if you look at our jerseys, it says Louisiana on the chest. And we play to that. It's I'm a Louisiana guy. It's we got hurricanes down here. It's kind of hard sometimes. There's a lot of stuff that happens down here. I think our people are just kind of a proud group of people, and we love that about them. And so, but anyways, we kind of play to that and try to get them going together. We always say we hadn't lost here at home since September of 21. So we've been on. I think we're on a 14-game home win streak. And people talk about how hot and muggy it is when they get down here and all that. So we try to play to all that. We talk to our players about that. Those Louisiana guys, we talk to them about that. And then we always pick on the Houston kids and say, all y'all's people are from Louisiana anyways. Y'all just moved over to Texas late. So anyway, that's kind of what we do.
Coach, your background in history is definitely unique. I see so many guys that, they play college football and then, stick around GA and then can kind of continue to coach and move up in the ranks. But your start was 5 years later than everybody else because you went military out of high school and then, into college football. So it's kind of a two-part question. What was that like, going out of high school and going military and then kind of doing your service there and then being the old football guy then when you were at the college?
Yeah, it was. Look, so I went to Louisiana Tech out of high school. When I first left high school, I went to Louisiana Tech University. Made some bad decisions there and found myself in the military after 2 quarters. And so it was great for me. It grew me up. Man, I ended up, I did 2 tours of Iraq during the hotbed of all that. And that really, a lot of people can think of that stuff whatever way, but for me, it was a really good thing for me in my life. And I've used it as good. And so when I got out of the military, I knew I wanted to coach ball and went back. I wanted to play because I had kind of messed up the first time that I went to college. And I was, 23 years old when I asked the coach, hey man, I had a wife and had a baby on the way. And I'm like, hey man, will you let me play college football? And so I played till I was 26 and then I knew I wanted to coach. I always said I was going to be a high school coach, and but Coach Dennis Dunn, who was at Louisiana College at the time, who was a big time high school coach here in the state, told me, "Hey man, you ought to coach with us. I'd love for you to coach with us." So it got me going, and it's been a great thing. Like I say that it's just the military background and all that. Just it kind of helps me out. I know they're not soldiers, so I don't treat them like that. But the discipline aspect, I think that players these days really need it. I think they don't get it enough, and so I give them a little bit of that, and we think it makes them better men. That's really what our main goal is here. We're going to win games. All that's going to take care of itself. But I think we all got into this to make a difference, and so here I get to do that, and no matter wherever God leads me, we're going to try to do that wherever we go.
Coach, you being a former military guy and a college football coach, I don't know you all that well. I don't know you at all. But just a random question. What happens if somebody walks into a meeting late or shows up at practice late? It's probably something you just let go, probably don't even address it.
I always tell everybody this, like on my recruiting spills, I tell all the moms, let me tell you something. If your son calls you and says I hollered at him, I probably did. It's probably because he was late to my first meeting. And I told him, get out. So we tell him, you're out. Get out. First day one, fall camp. If you're late, you're out. Get out of my building. You're not getting better today. All the rest of them are. And you better understand that when we put a time, that's what we do here.
That's great. I love it.
Coach, what do you see the future of your program? What you've done thus far and where you see it going here the next few years.
Hey guys, give me just 1 second. It's
yep.
For whatever reason, I can't.
No, we're still here. We can talk amongst ourselves. If I look this way, it looks like I'm looking at Pat, so it's fine.
I can't hear you guys at all.
Uh-oh. That's not good. Maybe should I hold up notes as we go here? Hold on. I'll push pause real quick. Hold on.
Coach, I was just going to ask you, the success that you've had so quickly, where do you see this going, the future of your program with what you've established already?
I just want to build a good, clean, good program, and that's the deal. Let's just kind of built this thing on. Let's just work every day, and God will bless what we set our hands to do, what we work hard at. So that's it, man. That's really all we talk about. And then we always look to see what kind of players we have. And if we're good enough to make a run, I tell them straight off the top. And if they're not, I tell them, y'all better push because we still have a standard to uphold here. And so we'll see. I haven't been here long enough to really sustain success yet. So that's always something to look at and see if we can do that and all that. So that's kind of where we're at.
So, Coach, when I look at your schedule, you've got Ottawa and Arizona, who's in your conference, who's been a perennial top 25. You've got Texas Wesleyan, who's been a perennial top 25. And you went out this offseason and decided, you know what, we have a decently tough schedule, and we kind of made it into the postseason, skin of our teeth, 3-way tie in the conference. Let's just go ahead and throw some big non-conference games on there. So you got St. Thomas out of Florida, who was in the postseason last year, and you're going to be playing D1 FCS in Houston Christian, I suppose I have to call them now. I can't call them Houston Baptist when they're not in the NAIA anymore, so they're Houston. But you've got those teams on your schedule this next year. You're not dodging anybody, and I love that. I think that's great for NAIA football.
Yeah, the Houston Christian deal, they're going to pay us a guarantee to go over there, and so we just we need that type of stuff here, and so we're going to go play it. And the St. Thomas game, it's kind of far and all that, but we wanted to play a good opponent. I called some other people, try to get some other people to play us. And it's like when you start getting better, nobody really wants to play you. So really the only people who want to play are good teams because we all know it's going to be a battle, So I just said, the heck with it, we'll go. And Coach was good enough to get us over there. So I'm excited about that. And at Houston Christian, we always tell our players, like, they're paying us a bunch of money because they got a bunch of scholarships. And letting us go over there, let's just go hit them in the mouth and see what happens. Like, no pressure on this one, guys. We're all getting a check in at the end of the day anyways, and I'm going to buy you guys some cool stuff with it. And so let's just go over there and have a good time and hit them in the mouth and let them know what it's like, to play a team with 22 scholarships instead of those 60 that they have over there, So,
Coach, just wait to schedule even more games when you hit them in the mouth a few times.
No, I hear that.
It's going to get even tougher for you to schedule games. So,
I hear that.
Yeah, it is. I do love it though, because not only does it, help your program gauge themselves against other NAI programs and other levels, but it gives the rest of the NAI the ability to kind of gauge, all right, so, if this is the best team from this conference and this is the best team from this conference and they played one another, it can certainly help, formulate the playoffs. And I'm a strong believer at this level, when you go out of conference and play those games, and you compete and you win, you should be rewarded for that. And the teams that decide to do that should be rewarded for that, regardless of the wins or losses, rather than, kind of sitting in a conference and just playing those games and not picking up anybody on the outside. So, kind of going through, your upcoming schedule, you start off with a tough run, St. Thomas, then Houston Christian, then you get into conference play. What are I guess some of the things that you're talking about to your players to, help them keep focused on the Sooner Athletic Conference, which is obviously your best path to the postseason, and not way too much on those non-conference games that are on the schedule.
Yeah, we're just going to play them one at a time. We have a countdown clock that's in our weight room that's got the date to fall camp. And so we just have to get better and get our bodies right during this off season, during the weight program, during our run program, during our fourth quarter program, and to be ready for when we get to go play. And so I told them that a lot's on the line. We're losing about 5 or 6 really good players on our team, and the rest of them are coming back. And so I told those guys, like, at the end of the day, it's like a brotherly rivalry. If you don't go do what they did, they can always say, well, the reason why you weren't there is because I wasn't there. And so we talked about that the other day. Don't give them the satisfaction to say, hey, the reason why y'all fell off is because we were gone. And so we got to go and be who we're going to be and be what we are. So anyways, that's kind of what we're playing to right now. We just got to come out. I mean, I tell you this, like, Langston's really good. A lot of people, that'll be our 3rd game of the year. And so they're really good. They were 6-4 last year. I think they lost to us, Texas Wesleyan, Ottawa, and then Mid-Nazarene by 3 points in overtime. So it's like that was their 4 losses out of their 6 opponents, and it was all pretty close. And they had Ottawa on the ropes early on. And so there's a bunch of, you look down our schedule, there's a bunch of good teams. There's 5 teams that they're going to be hard. And then I think Oklahoma Panhandle is going to be really good. So y'all are hearing that here first. Coach did a good job last year. They brought in some good players. And so they were well coached, and it was hard. It was a hard game last year for us, and they got a lot of guys coming back. And so I think it'll be a tight run. I mean, it's really going to be and then Ottawa and Texas Wesleyan are who they are. And so we got to bring it in this conference. There's not really too many teams that you can just really lay down and just come out and play. And we learned that in my first year in the conference, to be honest with you. Lost to Lyon College, who was there one time, and they were like 1-8, and it's because we came out and turned the ball over 5. So we just got to come out and play every day. We got to work out every day, and just I tell our guys all the time, it all matters. And so that's what we have to go with, and as long as we can do that more times than not, we'll be all right.
Coach, I appreciate you talking about your conference. I think your conference is an up-and-coming league, and to learn more about it, I appreciate you sharing that information with us and our audience. One question I have for you, the distance and travel, how the positives and negatives of that maybe for your program, your thoughts on that?
Yeah, the positive is, like, when we went to Baker, we jumped out on them. Like, it was, and everybody was like, I remember Coach. I like their coach a lot. The really cool guy. Got to meet him during the prelim stuff and all that. And I remember him saying, is this trip going to hurt y'all? I'm like, oh man, it was just 9 hours. That ain't anything. That's what we do. That's what we do every weekend over here in the Sooner, And so that part of it was good. It's tough. I mean, on the Ottawa trip, when we go over there, we don't fly. So it's a 20-hour trip for us. And so we have to turn that into 2 days. So to get off of that bus and play, I mean, Coach Nesbitt will tell you, he was happy last year that he got me at their place, you know.
Do you stop in Lubbock? Like, where's your halfway
That's
point?
Yeah, where's your halfway point? Where's your
Lubbock?
halfway point at? So, Coach, when you make the trip from LCU to Ottawa, what's halfway? Is it, do you stay the night in Lubbock? Are you staying in New Mexico?
No, so you're pretty much on the New Mexico border. So when we stay, we stay at Fort Stockton, Texas, which is you know, you get up the next day, you travel about 3 hours, I think it is, or 2 hours to El Paso, and then from El Paso you go through Las Cruces, and then you just keep on trucking. You gain a couple hours because you're going back in time there, if that makes sense. But on the way back, it's miserable because you lose hours. So you're like, oh, it's only 2 o'clock or whatever, and it's really 4 by the time we get home. So it's a trip. It's a track, man. It really is.
Coach Max, I was joking with Jason a minute ago before you joined. There's no way I'm ever complaining about an Indiana to North Dakota trip ever again after what you guys experienced going to Arizona. That's unbelievable. That might be the craziest regular season trip I've ever heard in the NAIA.
The other part of that is like Oklahoma Panhandle State is 13 and a half hours from us. Yeah. So it ain't a joke either. I mean, it's a beast. You get up at 2:30 in the morning and we drive all day Friday, and you get there in the afternoon time about 5 o'clock. And you pray to God they gave you a 6 o'clock kick, so you can kind of wake up and all that. Because if it's a 1 o'clock kick or something like that, it's tough. It really is.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're driving across some open country. I've done quite a bit of travel in my life, in West Texas and northern New Mexico. Those are wonderful places in the United States, just not where I would want to choose to spend a good majority of my time. I actually, in college, and this was 20 years ago when I was playing NAIA ball, from our longest road trip we ever took was to Oklahoma Panhandle State. We played them opening game of my junior year, and that was like what was that? I think it was only like 8 or 9 hours. So I had zero complaints about having to sleep on the bus on the way home and getting home at like 6 a.m. That no complaints for me whatsoever.
Yeah, few of those trips we've kind of mastered the art of staying at Buc-ee's or the Love's travel stations, and our strength coach gets out with our players, and we legitimately do our stretch and stride, stuff absolutely. Like that, because we can't, because they're going to get too tight, and we let them get out and walk around and all that. But cool part about it is that I thought, like, wow, I'll never forget. So the 2021 we first went to play Arizona Christian out there, and like 2 or 3 of my players were texting me when we went through New Mexico, and they said, Coach, those are mountains. So down here, we don't have mountains. And a lot of my guys had never been out to a place and seen them. And so they were taking pictures and sending them to me. I'm like, yeah, man, that's what they look like, guys. So it allowed me to, step back from a coaching standpoint, stop crying about how far it was, and to go, well, at least we're giving them an experience that they would have never gotten, had we not traveled out there.
I guess is that one of the positives, Coach, that you are getting some experience from guys that are maybe from Louisiana that haven't traveled outside the area?
Absolutely.
Is that a positive? Yeah.
Absolutely. A lot of them are super fired up about the Miami game because they've heard about Miami. Sure. They think it's, in their brain, it's, whatever you want to call it. And so they're like, oh, we get to go to Miami. They're all fired up, And so and a few people were like, well, you don't have to worry about the humidity because we're kind of used to it down here too. So anyways, it'll be fun.
Yeah, Jason, if we ever do sorry, Jay, if we ever do another show talking about NAIA struggles and challenges, we have to have Coach Maddox back on. This is 100%. Too good. This is too 100%. Good. Fantastic. Coach, you've done an unbelievable job overcoming adversity, man. It's awesome.
Appreciate it.
Well, yeah, you just think about it from the beginning, the switch into the NAIA, all the travel and everything that comes with it. I mean, and the conference that you're in, when you go back to like when Pat and I met one another in the world of NAIA football, there wasn't even a thought the Sooner Athletic Conference was going to have football teams. There was the Central States Football League at that time, and some of those teams have come obviously into the Sooner. And then now you start looking at it and, legitimately, you guys made the postseason, but there's another 1-2 teams that, we're close to playoff worthy as well out of that league. So, it's a young and up and coming conference. And Pat and I have talked about this. The entire conference is really in a valley of talent, whether it's Louisiana or Texas or Oklahoma or Arizona. So there's a lot of good football being played in the Sooner.
Yeah, for sure. I think the part where we get probably the worst, and just it's kind of rightfully so, is the bottom part of our conference is bad. All right, just being honest. And so it's nothing to get knock on anybody, and I'm sure they can use it as cannon fodder if they want to. But the bottom part of it's not that good. But the top part, those guys can play. Like Texas Wesleyan, those guys, I know they hadn't been in the playoffs, and they're but they're good. They're good enough to get in there because they're a good team. And you got Ottawa who's been in, and they, a couple years back when they took Morningside, that was a 31-28 game at halftime. And Morningside went on won the national title that year. And so, and I know they blew them out later on in the game and all that, but there's some teams. Like I said, Langston's been a team that's actually had success, and they're not far off. And then Panhandle can play too. And so, yeah, man, it's a growing conference, and you got people trying to do it right. You got some teams around here that are really upgrading their facilities, and they're trying to get better. I mean, they really are, with Ottawa and Texas Wesleyan trying to do the same thing. Sagu is another one they're getting new facilities and all that. I mean, so it's trying to grow. It really is, and it is in a hotbed. So if people will get in behind these programs, then they'll do fine. That's the biggest deal. You got to have some backers.
Yeah, it is kind of the swan song of a lot of NAI programs. If you can get the institutional backing, you can get the community backing, the sky can be the limit. If you don't have both of those, you can be in a world of struggle, like some of the teams that we don't need to mention, but you can certainly look at some programs and say, gosh dang, if they just got a little bit of this or a little bit of this, that program could be a monster. And sometimes, fortunately, if you're the coach on the other side, that's good not to see, because all of a sudden things get even more competitive than what they are.
Yeah, for sure.
Pat, I'll let you throw another one at Coach here, and then we'll wrap things up.
Coach, I just know moving forward, you're going to be one of those teams that nobody wants to play in the playoffs because you're going to be well-seasoned, well-traveled. There is no doubt that with your location, what you have going on there, it's an exciting time to be in your shoes and what you're building there. Looking forward to next football season. And tell you what, Jay, we need to get down there sometime. I love Louisiana. I love the whole culture down there. It's one of those rare places you don't feel like you're in the U.S. It's such a unique place. So I'd love to come down and see a game sometime. It'd be fantastic.
Yeah, you guys should, man. I mean, where we're at, if you look at us on the map, we're right in the middle of the state. So when I tell you it's a melting pot, like you have the Cajun culture here, you have what I call the redneck culture here, and you got kind of people all in between. And so it's a great place. All the food starts to get really good around this area. My players always pick about that, and it's not hard to find some really good.
Oh, that way, this guy and I,
yeah. I tell you, Coach, you're speaking my language. I love NAI football and I love food. That's the list for me. So you've talked me into coming and visit. So that'll be my final question. What is your go-to regional food that you just can't get enough of down there? I mean, I love everything, but what's yours like, man? This is it.
So I'm a big jambalaya guy. Yes. But we got a place here that kind of backs our program and all that. I always tell the coaches, like, hey, you want some good food, you need to go to Quibido's, and they have boudin and all the good stuff. I don't know if you guys have ever had boudin before.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Etouffee. I love etouffee.
He does it great. He's got etouffee. He's got crawfish au gratin and some of the stuff that's special. So they cater our meals a lot of times for our players, and all my players always pick on me and say, hey, why can't we get that more during the fall break when food services aren't working? They cater for us, and my guys are always like, hey, why can't you just bring them back every day? Why can't they just feed us three meals a day? I'm like, yeah, I wish too.
Not quite at that level of program support yet. It would be great. It would be great.
Not quite there.
That is awesome, Coach. I appreciate you jumping on with us and doing the show. This has been great talking to you. Obviously, we're going to be, talking to you down the road here and staying in touch, and just appreciate what you and your program has done for NAIA football and continuing to kind of, move the level forward and make the division an even stronger division, Coach.
Yeah, I appreciate it. I appreciate you guys too, man. Building the brand and letting people know, the bigger everybody gets about it, the more people know that NAIA football really is a good brand. And, I remember hearing, coming from Division III, like it was better and all that. Nah, not the case at all, because I've done them both. And I would say there's probably better players where we're at right now, to be honest with you. So anyways, but I appreciate you guys continue to build the brand.
He's Coach Maddox. He's Pat Donley. I'm Jason Dannelly. This has been NAIA Football with Donley and Dannelly. Thanks, everybody, for listening in and watching this week. We'll be back with more sometime down the